Y saludo mi gente y bienvenidos a otro episodio de Hablando de Liderazgo con Albert. Today is a very special edition. As we mentioned before, I think this is the fourth episode or the third episode or fifth episode that I make the interview in English. Talking about leadership with Albert. So I'm honored to have here with us Carson Fajardo. I just love to say Fajardo because we have there's a city here at the east coast of Puerto Rico, is Fajardo. And so I'm honored to have you here, dear Carson. We met at the Student Leadership or Student Passport from HETS, Hispanic Educational Technology Services, and he's part of the Student Government Association or the Student Council back in San Bernardino, California. And I was in Instagram the other day and I say, hey, Carson, you should be on my podcast so you can talk about leadership and student leadership and how do you get to work back in San Bernardino, California. So introduce yourself. Welcome to the space. Talking about leadership with Albert, Hablando de Liderazgo con Albert. We're honored to have you here. Who is Carson Fajardo? Go ahead.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much, Albert. And thank you for having me. This is really a great opportunity. And something about me, I grew up in California. I'm over here in California. So excuse me if I look a little tired. It's a little bit early over here in my time right now. But I'm the ASI. We call it Associated Students Incorporated, which is our student body. I'm the president of our student body here at California State University, San Bernardino, which makes me the voice of almost 19,000 students. I'm in my second term, second term president that we've had on our campus in nearly 20 years. Super grateful to hold the position and wanting to make an impact in higher education alongside, furthering our impact with our students. In many different ways. Our student government in California and at our university is ran almost like a nonprofit 501c3, and it is. And it's an auxiliary of the university. So we have our own budget. We have our own budget funded by student fees that is determined by the head count every year, which is about $1.6 million at this point. And we use that money to hand out scholarships. We hand out about $95,000 in scholarships every single year. We also have multiple different resources like reduced costs for tickets, like for any tickets that students want to go out and buy, like Disneyland tickets, like Los Angeles Dodgers tickets. There's a playoff game going on today. There's a whole bunch of different, we have a garden on campus that we upkeep, and we donate the produce of that garden to our den, we call it. So our food den, where students can go in there and grab food for free. And alongside, we advocate on the behalf of the students on a statewide, system-wide in the California State University system, and as well as statewide, and there's statewide, system-wide, federal in the United States, and also on the local level too. So a whole bunch of different moving parts in our student government on the side, but we really, really love it. So super grateful.
So you are in charge of the student, you name it student council or the ASI? How do you name it? The associated?
Yeah, we call it student government for the most part, but we call it Associated Students Incorporated, or ASI.
ASI.
Yep.
So you are part of ASI, but the thing is that before you have all those responsibilities, you are a student.
Correct.
So you talk about all the responsibilities that you have, but before you be part of it or you have that responsibility, you are a student. So let's go back when you were in high school. There is the decision that we have to make, and there's something that we have to considerate or think about, which will be the college that I will get my degree, what will be my future. And probably back in California, there's a lot of options and a lot of opportunity, as you mentioned, in the California State University, all the different campuses that they have. How do you make the decision of what you want to major at? And how do you pick the university that you are at?
Thank you. Yeah, and right now I'm in my last year of my business administration program. I'm concentrating in management, so I'm really passionate about business as a whole, but I really want to take it back into higher education. But how I got here was in high school. I got involved in ASB. We call it, so pretty much student government in high school. And at that level, I was the treasurer. So I really liked setting up fundraisers for local businesses. And especially this was during the time right as COVID happened. And I really found a passion for reaching out to small businesses that were struggling at the time and giving them a platform within the student body at our high school, and giving them an opportunity to, like, hey, if you give 15% off of your for students today, we're going to bring 300 students, 400 students, and you'll get to create more profit throughout that day at least, and then hopefully be able to create a relationship with the students at that time, or even their families and friends, in order to create a habit of going to that family-owned business or that small business. So I found a passion for that in high school, and that really made me decide, I'm like, all right, I think I'm going to do business. I don't really know what I want to do with it, but I knew it would be broad enough for me if I wanted to change paths, or if I wanted to go a different direction, that I would be able to do that and do it comfortably with a major. What made me want to go to Cal State San Bernardino, it is a really local school to where I'm from. But it was about 20 minutes. Cal State San Bernardino is about 20 minutes from where I grew up. So it's a relatively close, it was really close. It made it an easy decision in that respect too. But I applied to 3 different colleges. I applied to 2 other local colleges, one private, one in the University of California system. So a different system here in California. And Cal State San Bernardino really made me feel valued in a number of different ways. When I came to campus, it was really a personal experience where I felt like I wasn't just another number here. It was like I was a student that was going to grow and find places and find faculty and staff that were going to make them, or try to get the most out of me. And on top of that too, they provided me a scholarship that allowed me to live on campus for free my first year. And that really helped me get closer to campus. I was planning to go to local colleges and commute to and from college every day, maybe work a job on the side and try to provide just for what I needed. But this gave me the opportunity to be close to resources on campus, and really be a part of the student body here. And not a lot of students get the opportunity at Cal State San Bernardino. Out of our 19,000 students on campus, only about 1,500 or so live on campus. So it's not a huge population, but it brought me so close to the student body. And when I got here on campus, I knew, like, I felt shorted by COVID and the experience that I had in high school. And I knew, because, it got cut short, and I felt like I wasn't able to maximize everything that I wanted to do. And kind of the trajectory I was on, I felt like was kind of hindered because of, Zoom world and all that stuff. So I knew when I got to college, I was like, I need to jump into a leadership position, or jump and find something that I could grow into. Right. So, and I found that really in my hall council. We call it a village council here on campus, which is we have 3 different village halls on campus, village resident hall villages. And I was able to become the president of one of the villages, and be able to plan events and really tried to engage the housing student body in that direction. And doing that, I found a passion for trying to reinvigorate student life on campus, especially after COVID, because, I think the COVID kind of Zoom and virtual environment kind of hindered student growth. It also hindered, I think, student life in different ways too, to where students were not wanting to get out of their dorms, even if they lived on campus, or students were not wanting to get out to events. So I really wanted to figure out, how do we break the code of getting students involved in, whether it's a student leader position, a club, an organization, in student government, but even just coming to an event, right? Coming out and being in community with people around you, right? And finding commonalities and being able to share differences, right? And I found a passion for that, planning events. And I continued to move up in that hall council, going into more of the inter-hall council level with our Residence Halls Association as a productions coordinator, and then moving and taking the production side and wanting to advocate for housing students, and joining our Associated Students Incorporated, ASI, as the housing representative on the board of directors that we have in our house, or pretty much our student council board of directors. And from there, I was like, hey, I like it here. I really like ASI, and the direction and the impact I can make advocating for students. And then I chose to run for president as a result of that. So that was kind of my route from high school all the way into college and all the way through until I ran for president.
Well, pretty interesting. So you are a very active student leader. So
Mm-hmm.
there's plenty of things to
Right.
you do, but as I mentioned before, you still a student. So
Right.
how do you structure or time management for all the responsibilities that you have? Before being a student, you have to take a lot of classes and you need to have a
Mhm.
very nice GPA. Also, you need to make a good job as a role as a leader, a
Right.
lot of meetings, a lot of budget, a lot of
Mhm.
structure. And you're a student, you're still a human, you're still a son, you're probably a brother, you're still a friend.
Yep.
There's a lot of hats that you have on your behalf and your responsibility.
Mhm.
So, how do you structure your time management so you can have the success that you're having now?
Yeah, it's been a work in progress. I'll tell you
Okay.
that. So there's no real set method, but what I've been able to figure out is out through Outlook, the email process software, Microsoft Outlook. They have an amazing calendar app, so I just use that calendar app for everything. If I have a meeting, if I have a class at a certain time, I use that calendar app. That calendar app really is my lifesaver. And making sure that I can stay on schedule. I can put on my Apple Watch. I can do all these different things like keep me on pace. I like to chunk out my days too. So in the morning, like early in the morning, if I can go to the gym, and then if I could go to class, and then I go to work right after in ASI. That's kind of how I chunk my day. I also keep a planner on me. Like this is just for my schoolwork and stuff.
That's
So I
great.
can just like write out each day, like, all right, what are my like two or one or two assignments, maybe three on a day I've procrastinated to, that I need to get these assignments done. So I can have a nice weekend for the most part where I don't have to do homework all weekend. But it's a lot of time management. There's definitely no set method, but for me, it's like I need to write things down. I need to see things in my face, like pop up. Oh, you have a meeting in 15 minutes. Oh, you have class in 15 minutes. Setting timers. There's a lot of different ways that I do it. And I think it's just for me to keep myself on track. And I'm a very visual learner. I'm a very hands-on learner as well. So I need to see things and know like, all right, I can plan out my day. This is what I got going on. I can know in my brain, like every day before I like go to class or my first meeting, I will know like, all right, I got this meeting at this time. I know I got this at this time. And I kind of can structure myself day by day. I think that the personal life things too, I think that's a tough thing, like how to find time for family and how to find time to be a brother, right? And how to find time to have fun, right? So those are different components that, it's always going to be a work in progress. There's always going to be that push and pull of work and family life. And, there's no set answer, but nothing ever is perfect, but I try my best, and and I have a great family and a great support system behind me to know, like, hey, yeah, you do have a lot going on, and we're gonna cut you a break, but we're also gonna keep you accountable. Like, you got to come out and have dinner with us a little bit. so,
Wow.
but I do go home on the weekends most often. Try to kick back. I'm a big American football. I love watching American football, so I come in and watch football over here with my parents every so often.
That's great. That's amazing. What are the benefits that probably you have gained or growth as a leader being part of what you do? Like, why it is important for students that have a normal life, a student in college or university,
Yeah,
why they should join this kind of organization,
yeah,
this kind of representatives, as you mentioned in the village, or probably the
right.
residence hall, or the student government, or the student council, the
Mhm.
student association. What is the importance that behalf of being part of the university as a student also add this kind of extracurricular activities? What is necessary for that? How have you grown after that?
I've grown a lot. That's I think the main pieces I want to really highlight in my growth. I think my leadership and how to work with others. I've always been a part of. I grew up playing sports and baseball, so I've always had the team mindset. But knowing how to work with different individuals in the workspace, and how to push each other in a good way and get the most out of each other, and doing it in a constructive way too. I think a big thing, one of my mentors kind of just ingrained in me was, would you rather be right or effective, right? And sometimes I'm like, I'm right on this. I know I'm right. But if I keep on pushing it, I'm going to push others away, and I'm not going to get what I want to do nowhere close to being done. So I've really taken, that to heart. And I think the main growth thing is how to be effective in leadership spaces, how to get the most out of others, how to work as a team toward a set goal, how to define the goal too. But I think the professionalism, the leadership growth that I've been able to do, obviously the connections I've been able to make, like I'm talking to you in Puerto Rico right now, I'm in California, right? That's a very cool connection. But the experiences that I've been able to gather throughout this, my role as ASI president, and even in student government as a whole, the opportunities have been amazing. This is something I've talked about with some other people about this too. And it's a very different college experience. Like I'm getting a very different college experience. I think some people like to party, you like to do this, you like to have fun, right? Which is good. Yeah. Awesome. Great. For me, it's different, right? My fun is like going out and talking with administration and then coming back and trying to figure out how do we work with the solution, and playing the games where we can get something for the students. I really do enjoy it. It's not the typical college experience by any means. It's different, but it's my college experience, and I love it. And like I've been able to travel, and there's a lot of benefits. I traveled to Hawaii, I traveled to Puerto Rico. I've been to there's 23 Cal State universities. I've been to 12 of them, almost half. I think I'll be going to my 13th or 14th this year as well.
Awesome.
So I've been to all these different places, and those are a lot of the amazing benefits. Yes, there's some time management in there. Yes, it's demanding. It's a demanding job, right? And not everybody can always put in that effort, and that's okay. But I do love this job, and I love the impact I've been able to make. And I think I've said this before too in different spaces. This will be the best job I have until I'm maybe 10, 15, 20 years in my career, right? To where I won't be at the same level, seeing eye to eye with the vice presidents and the president of a university until I'm 10, 15 years down in my career. So just to be able to have that heightened experience at such a young age, I think has really, really helped my professionalism, my growth, and it's been amazing, and provided me so many opportunities I could have never imagined for myself. But like I said, it doesn't come with you just sit here and you just go and get all these things, right? You do have to achieve it. And I talk, anybody that I have coming into college, anybody that's listening, coming into college or even in college right now, it's worth it. It really is worth it. There's time commitments. There's really an impact to be made with these time commitments. There's something to be a part of bigger than yourself in these spaces, and student government and student council. And it's the experience that I wouldn't trade for anything.
Oh, that's great. Do you see yourself working in higher ed in the future, or probably after you graduate, or you're planning on having your business? Do you have any dreams based on, as you mentioned before, do you like this job? So probably it can be in the future, probably working as a student affairs or something. Do you see yourself working in college in the future, or are you probably not considering, or do you want to be just full in business? How do you dream about that?
I definitely consider it. I've been looking into university advancement or development, we call it here on campus, and doing fundraising for universities, kind of tying back, the fundraising I kind of found a passion for way back when, and tying it back to my passion for higher education. So, and especially the impact that scholarships have made in my life and my experience, I felt like that is a really, really interesting profession for me. So that has definitely been on my radar. I love to work in student affairs too. The student government, piece is definitely always going to be a passion. And those two main things. I really would like to look into, public service as well, and seeing what impact I can make in there. If it's even just government relations between universities or a business to our government. But looking into different things, I don't have a set path at the moment, but I do know I want to get my master's in business admin. Hopefully coming straight out of college, jumping into an MBA program, and from there, then being able to gather more information and connections, and be able to inform kind of the direction I want to go into. But I think it would really be fun to be a university president, though. I still would. That would be probably one of the dream jobs right now, to be able to have that experience. It's really a passion of mine.
Wow, sounds great. You work with people and
Mhm.
a lot of decision making since you were in high school, probably
Mhm.
working as a COVID kind of thing and in the virtual rooms and those kind of stuff. Later on the village, and now as an ASI president. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of decision making. There's a lot of ideas that probably some people would not be sure about it, or they will
Right.
not be in favor of it.
Yeah.
So how do you work this part of decision making
Yeah.
and getting to know the idea, or probably make this kind of relationship where, okay, let's make
Mhm.
let's have a happy median so we can have a decision, a right making
Right.
decision, because there's a lot of decision making in leadership. There's a
Mhm.
lot of people, there's a lot of ideas, there's a lot of thinking, there's a lot of knowledge, because when you are in university, the union of diversity, there's a lot of knowledge, there's a lot of
Yeah.
rights, people know their rights, they want some to apply some stuff, and you have to make the decision, so you have
Yep.
a lot of responsibility on you. So how do you work with that? How do you work with people and
Yep.
get to know and make a, let's just take a decision based on this? And how do you work with the temperament, I don't know is a
Mhm.
right kind of say
Yeah,
it,
it's good. Yeah.
of the people?
Yeah, I think it all comes down to the lesson my mentor gave me is would I rather be right, or would I rather be impactful in this situation? That's always something that I look at now when I'm going into making decisions, or if I'm talking with a person that has a difference in opinion than me, or even is trying to maybe make an impact in a different way that I don't agree with. So I think for me, it's always going to be, how do I be impactful, or how do I see how to make a win out of this in one way or another, and try to share, how do we both win? How do both parties win in this situation?
A win-win situation.
Right. And I think another thing with that too is to be able to make sure students understand why decisions are being made. I think that is a big one that I think we have to work better at. Now, I've been trying to work better at as well. Is like, if a decision gets made to raise tuition, for example, right?
Mm.
What are the reasons why? What were the reasons that impacted it, right? 9 times out of 10, it's not an administrator being, I'm going to raise tuition so that these students suffer, right? That's not going to be the perspective, right? So we need to look at what were the informed decisions that they made, whether or not we even agree with it or not, right? No one wants their tuition, or no one wants to be paying more. But how do I make students understand from the administrator's perspective why this happened, and what were the causes, and what were the information that were given to them to be able to make this decision, right? And I think being that channel from student body to administrator, and administrator to student body, is really the role that I play, is being that communication line. If I can filter, all right, maybe this is what the administration's telling me, how do I filter that back and tell the students a way that they would recognize and they would understand? If students are telling me something this way, how am I going to filter that and give it to the administrators so that I can be impactful and effective in that situation? So kind of being that channel, that filter-ish between both parties, between the student body administrators, even student body and faculty as well, and trying to see how I can be impactful and take on the voice of the students and channel it through me, to be able to be that effective voice in the situation.
Wow, that's pretty interesting when you work with people. Is there any anecdote or a testimonial or story that you convince yourself once at a time that you are making the difference and you are at the right spot.
Mhm.
So probably there was a student or situation, something that you can share with us, something that you make a difference based on that, that you will always remember that, because
Yeah.
probably in the future, you will talk about this experience that you had based on what you did as
Yeah.
part of the leader position that you're holding now.
Yep. And I think there's a couple different ones I can think of. The main I want to talk about one. I think there's a conversation about our bowling alley. We have a bowling alley on campus. It's really cool. But they wanted to start charging students to bowl, right? And that doesn't sound bad. And it was a low price. It was like $5 to bowl,
Okay.
and
Okay.
and it wasn't bad. But this thing was, the students were paying a fee out of their tuition already for this bowling throughout this student union building, right? They were paying for
Mhm.
this building out of their tuition, and then they were getting charged again on top of that for to bowl, right? So the perspective I came at it, and a lot of other student leaders that were a huge help on this too, were, hey, there should not be a way that students have to pay on top of what they're already paying, prepaying to the student union. So what we did, we worked out an agreement to where any student past 5 p.m. that was still on campus could bowl for free, doesn't have to pay a dime. If it was before, that's where they would have to, pay it like $5 or so to bowl. It's incremental. We looked at the prices, and the main argument from our bowling alley and that staff was, we were the lowest charging bowling alley in the system of California State University, and especially with just regular for-profit bowling alleys in the area. But and trying to figure out too, because it was the usage of the bowling alley and kind of the how the equipment and how the bowling balls and how the shoes will continue to break down over time, and what that cost would look like. That was a reasoning for in implementing that cost. But we chose, and that's the kind of one of the solutions that we came to, was if we were to have it after 5 o'clock every day, that students could bowl for free. It would encourage student life to be on campus past just regular operating hours, which would be a plus for student life, as well as having it for free every day on the weekend, completely through
Okay.
the operating hours, so that students, if you lived on campus, if you were commuting to campus and you had nothing to do, you could bowl for free. So that was the solution that we made. Where it comes to like the student perspective, and something I feel that I made an impact on, and I have to walk past this bowling alley every day, and I leave work at 5 every day, and I walk past it, and it's packed. It's packed with students. It's packed with students bowling, and that is the type of student life I wanted to see. It's something simple. It's something that no one maybe even knows that I was an impacting or a factor in that. But just for me to look back and say, like, you know what? Yeah, everybody here is bowling. They got nothing else. They didn't have to pay for it. They didn't have to do anything else. And every single bowling alley lane is full. That, to me, those little things like that, those little details, I don't really need to get the credit for it, but just to see it happen and to see the vision actualize, and seeing students utilizing something that was a product of something that I was talking about. And that was really cool. There's a whole bunch of different situations like that, the impact that, where we've been able to bring artists to campus and bring different experiences to campus with events and things like that. Or even, right now what we're working on is a parking pass scholarship. How do we get students free parking passes, right? Even if it's through a lottery system, if it's through somewhat of an application scholarship system, trying to break down the barriers to it, but trying to make sure that students have access to parking passes, because those things are expensive. They can be almost $200 a semester over here just to park, and just making sure that students have access to those things.
Wow. You have traveled a lot and you have visited a lot of the university of the Cal State system kind of thing. And how is this experience like comparing your home university and getting to know different universities? I can see, wow, we should apply this on ours, or probably we're better
Yeah.
than them. It's a very nice experience because you're having and getting to know different aspect of probably facilities and how do they
Mhm.
work, this kind of stuff. how do they specializing in this? Probably I can bring it to my university. Probably they are so cool that I want to stay on this campus
Right.
besides mine. How do you can share your you mentioned that you visit 12 of the 20
Hmm.
campuses, and probably you visit Puerto Rico. And when you
Hmm.
visit Puerto Rico, I'm pretty sure that you visit more than 10 universities, and
Yeah.
also probably in Hawaii you did the same.
Yep.
So how do you compare the higher ed system based on Hawaii, California, Puerto Rico, and how do you find it?
I really love them all, and there's so many different things that make every campus and every university system unique, right?
Hmm.
Hawaii, you're next to the beach, no matter where you are, doesn't matter, right? It's like
Okay.
you're in Hawaii, cool, right?
Okay.
Puerto Rico, you guys have such an amazing community, and there's such amazing like hidden gem campuses there too, to
Uh-huh.
where it's like, yeah, like why would you not want to be in Puerto Rico going to school, right? Like that's such a cool amazing area. Obviously, I don't see behind the curtain probably like some of your peers do, right? And I'm sure, and there's issues and problems with every system, every
Mhm.
single campus, right? Same with mine. And I take a lot of pride in Cal State San Bernardino. But there's things where I see behind the curtain and I'm like, ooh, and I wish I didn't see that, right?
Okay.
Like I said, it really affirms a lot of pride in my own campus because I'm able to see, some of the great things that we do, but also how can we improve? And I think that is the main thing. There's always a way to improve. There's always someone that's doing something better than us. So
That's
trying to look at the different things that we can implement on our campus. If it's a student government thing, great. If it is something else in the system, if it's a facilities thing, if it's a student affairs thing, if it's an academic affairs thing, then we can check it out and have those conversations. But really, the amazing piece for me has been able to have such an amazing relationship with the other ASI, Associated Students Incorporated presidents from across different universities, and really within the Cal State University level too. Being able to have 23 ASI presidents where they're like very open about some of the resources that they have, some things that impacting them, and all 23 of these universities in this system were really impacted by the very very similar stuff, and similar issues, similar student demographics, very very similar facilities, impacted by the same budget things in California, the budget deficits. So a lot of us are in the same boat. So being able to take and look at different ideas from different campuses is really great and informs some of the decisions that I make when we're having some large system wide conversations, and kind of how our university stands and some of the great things that we do. And like I said, we do a lot of amazing things, but there's always room for improvement.
no, that's great. You're always working. Probably you're always or studying or having some issues with the ASI, something that you have to
Mhm.
do. How do you work on your personal or soft skills that you need to grow up? Probably your public speaking. How do you get to
Mhm.
know what the leadership skills? Do you have time for reading, get to workshops, hearing a podcast or something? Or how do you
Yeah.
structure that personal growth
Right.
besides all the responsibilities that you have? As you mentioned, behind the curtain. Behind the curtain,
Mhm.
probably I'm reading this book, which is based on this or that, and I'm getting
Right.
to know this. I'm watching this other president who's making a lot of things in his
Mhm.
ASI, whatever. How do you grow as a leader, and how do you catch some time of
Yep.
your full schedule and agenda for personal growth?
Yep. And that's something I'm still working on, right? And I think I'm definitely not perfect about it. I think I could be better at reading books. I used to read a lot of books when I was, growing up, and I have a book that's sitting on my desk right now. I need to read, and just been sitting there for 2 weeks, right? So I'm
It,
trying
but
to
it is
find
not a
time for all
textbook,
these
right?
things.
It's not a book that you have to read for a class or a course or something. It's just a personal
Just a
that
Yeah, no, just a personal like book. Someone gave it to me, and it's a leadership book. It's from it's I think it's Coach John Wooden from
okay.
UCLA. Yeah, so I
Uh-huh.
want to read his like kind of memoir. But anyway, I need to find time for these different things, and that's kind of the struggle: is how do I find time for myself? How do I find time to do all these things? Another a big thing that I do though is I really like to watch a lot of different videos. Like
That's great.
I usually, if I'm kicking back, I'll just kick on a YouTube video about leadership or about self improvement and things like that. And I'll take bits and pieces from there. Obviously, nothing is perfect, and I get to kind of cherry pick what I like and kind of throw away some things I don't like. But the videos are really what I kind of gravitate toward right now.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's what you use, so you can get to know something that probably you will not gain on the student government, or you will not gain at college. So that's kind of the like
Right.
getting to grow that's personal or soft
Mhm.
skills. Oh, sounds great. Sounds great. Sounds amazing. Now, there's always some questions that I always ask, and
Yeah.
probably you get to now you will not get rid of it because I asked those questions to each one of the persons
Mhm.
or the leaders that I have here in talking about leadership with Albert. So the thing is that I want to ask you: is there is a book probably you mentioned before that you're not have so many time to read, but probably there's a book that changed your life forever. Which book do you suggest for us as leaders or probably student
Yep.
leaders that we should read before we get to this position?
Yep.
Kind of being a part of the president of the government. Which book did you read before that changed your life forever? Probably you will recommend this book.
Yeah. I think there's a book and there's a TED Talk associated with the book, right?
Go
And
ahead.
I've gravitated more towards the TED Talk. I picked up the book and I've read pieces of the book as well. But it is Start with Why.
Oh, Simon
Yeah,
Sinek.
Simon Sinek. Yeah, and I think it's a very popular book. And I think it's a good one. And I think that TED Talk really is one of the most impactful ones that I've listened to. I think you're finding the why, also trying to scope out what are other people's whys is another piece as well. So I think that is a huge piece, and trying to find motivation in yourself and what motivates you, what's motivating your cause and what you're doing, and maybe your organization that you're a part of or the business you're trying to start. What is the motive, and what's the why, right? And I think that is always the phrase I try to go back to, and remembering my why and why I'm here, and trying to further my impact.
Well, that's amazing. You already mentioned a book. Now let's go to streaming. Any movies or series that you recommend
Ooh,
and
okay.
that changed your life? Go ahead.
This is I don't know about changing my life, but this is more of like just kind of
Okay,
a
having fun.
fun thing. But I there's some good takeaways in here that have impacted my leadership. It's Game of Thrones. Game of
Oh,
Thrones.
Game of Thrones. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's an
Game of
HBO now.
Thrones is like my number one TV show I've watched. It's don't watch it with your family, of course, but that's one where you see the games that play, whether it's in your organization, whether it's
Mhm.
in higher education, and you kind of see how you can navigate those spaces. And obviously, it's heightened, impacts and heightened realities in the show, right? It's
Yeah.
either live or
You can
die.
apply it on a daily basis life. Yeah, yeah.
Right. But there's things that you can look at and pick out, like the political aspect of things, where you're like, oh, well, shoot, I can kind of apply that to my life a little bit, and see how to be impactful in this situation, or see how to play the game, right? And things like that. I think that show is an amazing show. I love the show. There's great takeaways from it, and it's entertaining, right?
Wow. What about podcasts? Do you have any time for hearing podcasts or
Ooh, podcast. Like I really don't watch too many podcasts. Podcasts are fun. I really just I do a lot of clips, of
okay,
podcasts.
clips
Um,
on Reels and TikTok kind of thing?
yeah, and it's a whole bunch of different ones. It can just be funny stuff. Like usually the podcast I'll watch is more like funny and entertaining. Or if there's like a certain like person on that I like, I'll try to throw them on. So
It's part of the
yeah,
algorithm.
algorithm. Yeah, use the algorithm.
Cool. So you mentioned a book. You mentioned what are your hobbies? What do you do for fun when you have free
Yeah.
time?
Yep. So for me, I like to play chess. Chess is a good free
Wow.
time decompressor for me. Go to the gym. I always try to get a little bit of workout in my session, and making sure that I have outlets like that. I like to play golf as well. Golf is a sport I've been trying to pick up, or I have picked up, and I need to stay more consistent at to get better at. But it's a fun one. I have my golf club sitting right here. That's why I keep looking over there. Another thing too, I like I said, I like American football. I play fantasy football, for anybody that knows what fantasy football is. So I try to manage all my teams, and try to make all my teams win every year. So Haven't really. I've won in one league twice, so I'm glad about that. But I play with a lot of friends on it, and just like to be competitive. I'm a super competitive, driven person. I really like competition, but everything's not competition, right? But for little things like this that kind of get the competitive spirit going, I try to use to decompress.
Cool. What are your favorite speakers? Do you have any top list of speakers that you like to hear or like to um,
Hmm.
watch on YouTube or even TV? This is one of my top speakers. I love the way they talk.
Yeah. Ooh. I don't know which one to name off the top of my head. I'll name one person. And not because I necessarily watch them. Um, the main, hmm, I have another person too, but the main
Oh,
person,
you can mention
yeah,
both of them.
I'd say one that I think has been super interesting to me, and I've actually had conversations with this person is Dr. Luke Wood over. He's the president of Sacramento State University. He's started the first ever Black honors college
Okay.
over in California, and I think in the United States. So some of his stuff that I've been able to watch and be in contact and to see him, as an educator and as a president of one of the universities in our system, to be able to see his success and kind of the way that he's been able to move through the system and eventually wind up at Sac State, where he was a part of the student government. I think having stories like that in our system and higher education inspires me. So, like I said, I don't really listen to all this stuff all the time. I'm not a consistent watcher, but just to be able to see him in action in person and get to see him on, he gets a lot of amazing media attention, as he should, for doing all the impactful things that he's doing. But Dr. Luke Wood, I think, is definitely one of the ones in our system that he's definitely an impactful person.
Well, I don't want to compromise on this question that I'm gonna ask now,
Hmm.
but do you have any politicians, you mentioned about public services, that
Hmm.
you like the way they work? So
Uh,
probably let's just mention, I don't want to compromise your party or what are you
I
a
get
part
you.
of
Yeah.
your politicians or those kind of stuff, but probably you can say one of this party and one of this party so you can be happy with it. Any politicians that you love, how do they work or how do they do the public service, and probably
Mhm.
that's something that you can apply on your leadership skills. They are not perfect, as we mentioned before, but are any politicians that you like the way they work?
Yeah, I think like I'm not too like quote unquote political. Of course I'm informed. I feel like I'm politically informed, but I don't like to personally. I don't really like to put politicians or anybody on a pedestal, and that's just my perspective, right?
Okay.
I think there's amazing people out there. I think there's amazing people that are in it for the right reasons, and I truly believe that. And there are people wanting to make an impact at all levels of public policy, and I think that's more on the national level. I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
about, I think there's a lot of very amazing leaders on the local level I've been able to be in contact with. Like I think in my circle that impacts our campus, I think James Ramos, Assemblymember James Ramos, Eloise Gomez Reyes, Senator California Senator Ochoa Bogue, seeing all these different, some members, Cervantes, all these different people I've been able to meet throughout my time here at CCUSB, through visits, through going up to Sacramento in the capital, advocating for students, seeing some of these amazing people, just, being able to have an impact on our university. But like I said, on the national level and some of like the names, right? I really don't like to put anybody on a pedestal. There's great things and great things to take from people at these in these positions, of course, in different ways that they lead. But I really don't like to put them on a pedestal. But there's amazing people at the local leadership level that I feel like are super impactful. Like some of the names I stated, even more. I can go on and on. That have personally impacted our school and our university that I'm super appreciative of.
No, that's great. That's great. Probably there's someone watching,
Hmm.
and probably at your school, and they admire you, and they probably want to be the next Carson Fajardo, and they want to be the president of the Cal State University in San Bernardino, and they want to be just like you. If there's someone that admires you and want to be just like Carson Fajardo, what do they have to do? Probably it's a freshman that is seeing you,
Mhm.
that a freshman that is seeing, wow, probably it's like a Carson Fajardo when arrive at the school. Uh,
Mhm.
what are the skills that they need to develop? Probably they are original. They will not be the same as Carson Fajardo, but
Mhm.
probably they want to be at the same position as you are
Right.
at right now. What do they need to do before they get there? Probably you can summarize in 3 steps or something like that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'd say one thing is uh, start being comfortable with being uncomfortable. I think you need to put, and it sounds bad, but it's the truth. You need to put yourself in situations where you're uncomfortable, and obviously in a good way, right? To where you're coming out of your comfort zone, right? You're throwing yourself into leadership roles. You're like, maybe I don't know if I got this, right? But I'm going to try. And maybe you'll land on your feet and maybe you'll fail and you'll learn from your failure. But I think the big thing is be comfortable with failing, because that failure is only going to lead to you learning from it and then leading to your success in the future. But I think being comfortable with failure, obviously no one wants to fail. The goal is never to fail, right?
Mhm.
But if you do fail, it's always like, all right, well, how do I pick up these pieces and then how do I make this better when I continue to do what I'm going to do, because life goes on, right? But I'd say the first thing is put yourself get out of your comfort zone, put yourself in uncomfortable situations, learn how to fail and do it, learn how to fail right, where you can fail, learn from it. And I think the other piece too is to learn how to be effective, not right. Right. Like I was saying, you may be right, but you got to be effective. Learn how to be effective. And I think those are the three main pieces.
Well, that's amazing. What's next for Carson Fajardo that you can share with us today?
Yeah, I mean, I'm finishing out my term here as president, my second term. So I'll graduate in spring of 2025. So this May for us. And after that, I want to go and do my master's of business administration, hopefully in the University of California system. So I can get a different system
That's great.
outlook when I'm going into higher education, and then hopefully jumping into different roles either in business or in higher education to make an impact. So that's kind of the kind of broad trajectory that I'm kind of trying to go into.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of different moving parts and pieces and things that I want to accomplish in the meantime, but the main piece is I need to find that direction, and I need to get into this Masters of Business Administration program so I can actually figure out some of these connections that I need to make. But that's kind of what I want to achieve going into the University of California system, achieving an MBA, and then jumping into a career.
No, it's pretty amazing. We wish you the best in everything that you are willing to do. We're also willing or expecting to do a lot of projects with California State University San Bernardino. If someone is watching and they want to contact you, are you active on social media? How they can reach
Yep.
you? Probably any information, any webpage or something. They will be at San Bernardino and they
Yep.
want to go to California State University, or they want to meet Carson Fajardo or have an experience just like this one,
Yep.
like a podcast kind of thing, or invite you by Zoom or something, how they
Yep.
can reach you.
You can find me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great contact for me. I've been trying to get more active on LinkedIn. That's kind of been a part of my growth. So I still need to post about the HETS conference. I'm working on it.
Oh,
I'm
go
working on
ahead,
it.
go ahead. Yes,
I'm
please.
going to date it back and do the whole thing. But LinkedIn's a great one. Instagram's another great one. If you just search up my name, Carson Fajardo, you should be able to find my name. You should also see my email as well. It's asi-president at csusb.edu. So if you can hit me up on there, I'd be willing to have conversations or anything that you need. I'm willing to help out.
Wow. Carson, thank you for your time. Thank you for your willingness to be in part of the Talking About Leadership with Albert, or Hablando de Liderazgo
Appreciate
con
it.
Albert, our podcast. We wish you the best in everything that you are expecting and doing. and you have a home back here in Puerto Rico. And all
I
those who
appreciate
were
it.
watching this great podcast and interview with Carson Fajardo,
Thank
please
you.
make sure that you contact and be at the channel next week. We're gonna have another leader just like Carson, ordinary people that make extraordinary things. So thank you once again, and see you on the next one.
Yep. Thank you so much, Albert. Appreciate it.